All right, stop what you guys are doing because we got to talk about the Indiana Hoosiers versus the Oregon Ducks. Now, the winner of this game gets to play against the Miami Hurricanes or the Ole Miss Rebels for the national championship. Now, Indiana comes into this game favored by anywhere between 3.5 points and 4.5 points, depending on where you can get it. Over under 46.5. You got the Oregon Ducks. You got the speed. You got the Nike machine and the team that looks like an NFL team in warm-up lines. And then you got Indiana. Yes, Indiana. I know that some people have been struggling to get in their mind that Indiana is a phenomenal football team. I guess you know that by now. This Indiana team is a team that has spent the entire season humiliating everybody's assumptions and treating them like they owe them money. And here's the part that people keep forgetting. These teams already played. I was at the game on the field. Oregon was at home. Indiana walked in and said, "Oh, cute crowd. Now hold this L." In their 30-20 victory. Now, the game wasn't a fluke, but it was close. It was 20-20 in the fourth quarter. Indiana was able to pull away. Now, it was sacks. It was turnovers. It was controlling the game. And then Oregon looking like they were trying to solve a Rubik's Cube during a hurricane. So now we're here. Neutral field, fast track, in a dome. No excuses. Before we get too deep into it, I'm George Reister, former NFL player, college football player, and college football analyst for CW, and here on one of college football's fastest growing channels. So make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the show. And most importantly, share, because sharing is caring. Now let's get back down to business, the Vegas business, because Vegas is basically telling you the same thing that your eyes have been telling you all year, that Oregon versus Indiana. This is a fight, and it is all coming down to a simple thing. And I have video evidence to prove it, and that way you guys can see it from both sides. Can Dante Moore play clean against the most ruthless turnover hunting defense in the country? Because Indiana, they don't just stop you. They steal your soul one possession at a time. And on the other side, can Fernando Mendoza survive an Oregon defense who is relentless, who plays like it did against Texas Tech, and that lives on getting off the field on third down? Now, this isn't about style points, this game. This is about college football playoff action. Don't matter whether you win by 1 point or you win by 35 points. They are all wins. Both of these teams are chasing history. They are chasing an elusive national championship. Now, Indiana's the Johnny-come-lately. It's only been 2 years of this really in the making with Curt Cignetti. Oregon has been at this since 1999 when I got there and the uniforms changed. Now, they've been in the national championship twice, lost both times, and now Oregon is trying to get back for a third time. Now, this is not about who's better on paper. Who is built for this moment? Because either one of these teams makes mistakes, the other team is going to capitalize on it. Indiana comes into this game ranked number 1 in the country, and rightfully so. They have been highly dominant, and they are the Big Ten champions, back-to-back college football playoff appearances. They just took Alabama and stuffed them in a locker 38-3, and that's putting people on notice. The other team, the Oregon Ducks, 13-1. Their only loss was to Indiana. And now they've reeled off 8 straight since, including that 23-0 Orange Bowl shutout of Texas Tech in the quarterfinals. Here's the thing that we got to talk about. Oregon doesn't just have to beat Indiana. They actually have to beat a better version of the team that already walked into Autzen Stadium and ended a long home win streak. Now, going back to that game for just a second. Indiana finished that game with 326 total yards, 111 rushing, 215 passing, and Oregon 261 total yards, 81 rushing, even though that's a little bit deceptive because of some sack numbers, only 186 yards passing, and Dante Moore, 21-34, touchdown, 2 interceptions. Neither one of these teams put up any gaudy stats, but Indiana won this game without gaudy stats. They won on third down. They got off the field and they stayed on the field on third down. They did really good in the red zone. And then they won the turnover battle 2-1. Their pass rush was relentless, 6 sacks. a ton of hits on Dante Moore, had him confused, and he didn't have a ton of clean pockets. And when he did, he was looking around. And going back and watching this game, you did notice that despite Indiana's defensive success, Oregon was actually running the ball with their running backs at almost 5 yards a clip. But for some reason, they abandoned the run and decided to get very pass happy, and that did not work out. And Dan Lanning, after the game, talked about he didn't feel like their plan was good and felt like that they could do a lot better. But that's not to take anything away from Indiana, because their front seven, they are good enough to absolutely wreck a team. And you saw what they just did to Alabama. Indiana does some really good things with their simulated blitzes. They make you think that they're blitzing from one side, make you switch your offensive line's protection, and then they come from the other side. And they just wreak havoc with confusion. And on the Oregon side, on their defensive side, they have to get Fernando Mendoza and this offense in third and longs. They don't like operating from there, and that is the key to success. But before we get into the film and everything else, let's talk about these coaches. You got Curt Cignetti versus Dan Lanning. Now, Cignetti, his second season at IU, but he is 25-2 over that time. He's got a Big Ten title, college football playoff runs, and an irrational belief that he has instilled into his team. These dudes believe that they can walk on water. They believe they can run through mountains. They believe that they are literal superheroes. And that is what an irrational belief will do for you. And it has honestly and actually worked very, very well for them. Now, on the other side, you got Dan Lanning, who has stacked back-to-back 13-win seasons at Oregon, a Big Ten title last year, and they have really established themselves as a Big Ten bully. They've gone into Ohio State and won. They have beat Penn State. They beat all the big dogs. And now the big dog has changed for this year. Now let's get into this quarterback battle, because we got Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner, versus Dante Moore. And both of these dudes could not only be competing in this game, they could be competing for who is the number one overall draft pick in this year if Dante Moore so decides to declare. Now, Fernando Mendoza this season, Heisman, obviously, that fits nicely in the trophy case. But he's thrown for 3,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions on 72% completions. And then he adds another plus 250 yards rushing. And in addition to the Heisman, Maxwell Award, Davey O'Brien, the kid is clutch. You saw him take a huge hit against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. He got up and dusted himself off and came back even better. He is hyper efficient, but he is a rhythm passer. He does great job pre-snap ID. But at the same time, if you force him to go through multiple reads, can this offensive line hold up in front of him? That's the question. Now, the thing that you will notice about both of these quarterbacks, though, Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore, is there are only 8 Power 4 quarterbacks that have 28 touchdown passes or more, and Moore and Mendoza are 2 of those 8. Now let's talk about that man, Dante Moore. 3,200 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on 72% completions. This dude is a prototype NFL arm talent. Pushes the ball outside the numbers, makes throws over the middle, deep balls, everything in between. And the biggest growth that you've seen from him this year, it is the maturity. You've seen a 17-year-old kid go from UCLA, sit out a year at Oregon to mature and develop. To the beginning of this season, you could see a little bit in his eyes, even despite that Penn State win. And I told everybody then, when he was crying after the Penn State win, it was because he finally got that irrational belief in himself. Then the Indiana game squashed it a little bit. And then you've seen him grow, develop, and there's a total different look in the kid's eyes now than it was in the beginning of the season. Now let's look at Oregon's offense versus Indiana's defense. This was the exact part of the game that defined their first meeting in October, and it will be the exact thing that decides football program. Indiana was able to confuse Dante Moore. They were able to confuse the offensive line with their protections. Part of them were on the quarterback. It wasn't just that they had tremendous pass rush. Part of it, Dante Moore was missing throws. But these are forced errors. These are not unforced errors. Here's the truth teller part of the program, too, is that this Indiana team, despite being extremely talented, they do have some NFL players on defense in terms of just talent-wise. It is not as talented and freakish as the Texas Tech defense. However, they do something extremely well that Texas Tech does not do quite as well. That is the simulated pressures, which has confused Oregon at times. And I'm going to show you some video evidence of that. Because this Oregon team is 9th in points at 38 points a game. They're 42nd in pass yards per game, 16th in rush yards per game. We're talking about in the country, 14th in total yards, and 84th in red zone percentage. And they are number 22 in least turnovers per game, which is absolutely excellent. And Dante Moore gets a lot of credit on this team. But this team runs the ball 57% of the time. Look at the Texas Tech game. 47 rushes to 34 passes. And in Indiana game the first time around, we had 30 runs versus 34 passes. Let's look at the key players on this Oregon offense. You got Dante Moore, obviously, quarterback. We've talked about him. The running backs, Jordan Davidson, true freshman, De'Aaron Hill, and you have Noah Whittington. This is a three-headed monster, and they all catch the ball well out of the backfield. They will all block. These are three steady, very good running backs, and you might see a side of Jaden Lamar as well. Now, in the wide receiver room, this is where things have gotten a little bit tricky because the guy who started out on the scout team, Malik Benson, is now a deep threat, an actual weapon for this Oregon team. And then they still have Decorium Moore, Jeremiah McClellan, and you add in these tight ends as well. Oh my gosh, Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Johnson. This is the best combination of tight ends in the entire country. They are a nightmare matchup for any team. And you've seen the evolution of this Oregon team from being a team, and it was due to injuries to Decorium Moore, Gary Bryant Jr. on the wide receiver end, and some of even their backup wide receivers. So then they ended up having to play way more tight ends, and then they figured out, oh, wow, this is probably our best way to do things. And they're going up against an Indiana defense that is second in total points allowed at 10.3 per game. They're 18th in pass yards per game, only giving up 179. They're second in rush yards per game, only giving up 74. Second in total yards. And they are tied for first with Army in least first downs allowed by penalty. So they don't just give you anything. You have to earn it. They're 29th in red zone scoring percentage, 9th in turnovers forced per game at almost 2. Indiana hasn't allowed over 6 yards per play in a single game since the opener against Old Dominion. Alabama was at 3.9. Oregon was at 4.2 the first time around. This defense is locked and loaded, and they are ready. You look at Elijah Hardy at the linebacker position, 90-plus tackles. He is their tone setter. Aiden Fisher's good. Lewis Moore in the defensive backfield. D'Angelo Pons. Kamara at the end, who is replacing Stephen Daly, who's out right now with an injury. Can't forget about Landino as well. These dudes are problems. This Indiana success, a lot of it starts in the film room because, yes, they have players and, yes, they are talented. But this is a team that plays cohesive. They don't really give up a lot of big plays. They are disciplined and they are activate off of confusion. So if you can diagnose what this Rubik's Cube is, Oregon will have success against it. But the key to all of this for Oregon is first down efficiency. If you can win on first down, 4 to 5 yards on first down, now you're in second and medium, second and short. That makes it a lot easier to be a play caller. And then you're ending up in 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, instead of 3rd and 6s, 7s, because those are not favorable against Indiana because they will get a chance to do all the cool things that they do. And Oregon might want to go up tempo in this game a little bit. But let's look at a few of the plays that I believe are going to shape this game. Well, they shaped the last game. And I want to show you how Indiana's defense was so effective against this Oregon offense. Now, I want you guys to look at this. Oregon is in a 3-by-1 set. And you have, look at the back, Jordan Davidson, who's in the backfield. I want you to pay attention to this because Indiana is in single high coverage. They're playing cover 3. And the back goes out. That's an easy throw right now to the back for Dante Moore. And then here, now, He sees that the corner, he should have seen that the corner is taking the wide receiver. This is a wide open throw for a touchdown to the back. He can either lob it over his head, or at the bottom of the screen, there's not really anything there. But he does have a crosser right in front of his face on the 15-yard line as well. See, look, the back is wide open. The defender's running backwards. There's a 0% chance that he can get there even on even on a raggedy ball. It would have to be an atrocious ball for this not to be a touchdown. And he's felt pressure where there was not really pressure. And you had a crosser right in the middle of the field on the 15-yard line that gets a first down as well. This is just a miss by the quarterback because of the confusion that Indiana made them have throughout the game. And you can see from this angle, too, there's not pressure. There's not pressure. He's just unsure about what he's looking at. And he was actually looking to the left initially. So that is one play that Oregon should have been able to capitalize on. But this Indiana defense, no taking credit from them, because when you cause confusion with a quarterback, they start seeing stuff or not seeing stuff and not trusting what they see. This is another play in the game. Dante Moore drops back. He's a high-level NFL quarterback. Look at the wide receiver running a stem route on the 50 at the bottom of the screen. This is an easy pitch and catch. Throw the ball toward the outside. The wide receiver is going to fade outside. If you throw that on time, the ball is there. Or there is opportunity to look off the middle defender here. The guy standing on the O, he's drifting to his right. If Dante looks to the left, this seam route up the hash is available as well. So there's another opportunity that Oregon had that they were not able to take advantage of. Here's another opportunity in this football game, another 3-by-1. This is Indiana's simulated pressure. So you see, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players could be rushing who are at the line of scrimmage. But no, they're blitzing the corner. And then they're dropping the 2 linebackers out. So they're only rushing 5. But the problem is Oregon turned their protection going to the right. So now you got 2 unblocked defenders running at the quarterback. But quarterback should be able to see this, get the ball to the running back. Nice, easy dump over to the running back. You throw into the blitz, but he never sees it. And then here, obviously, it's going to be very difficult to get the ball to the receiver at the bottom of the numbers who is open as well. But these are the throws that you have to be able to make against this Indiana team and the things that you see early that are available. When you get it, you have to take advantage of it because Indiana is going to make very quick decisions. Now, let's look at the last that I'm going to show you. Indiana has 5 people up at the line of scrimmage. Again, Dante Moore. Opportunities, they only rush 4. And here, this is it. This turns into an interception. The linebacker's just reading his eyes, have no idea what he's looking at, because if he sees the linebacker inching over, that should be thrown right behind his ear, right there on the 35-yard line. Or if he came down to the bottom of the field, there was open space there. This is all of what Indiana is doing. They've done it to everybody. And now the question is, can Oregon figure out the Rubik's Cube of this defense and make sure that they are not putting themselves behind the sticks and missing opportunities for plays? Let's look at Indiana's offense versus Oregon's defense. This Indiana offense is built upon efficiency. They are going to take the low grass. If you give them easy access throws, they don't care if it's 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. They are going to take it. They are not going to get home run desperate. But if you give them looks to take home runs, give them one-on-one coverage with no safety sitting in the middle of the field, they're going to take it. With no safety over the top, they're going to take it. They're going to throw it to Elijah Surratt. They're going to throw it to Omar Cooper. They are going to give their wide receivers opportunities because they have consistently made plays. And this offense is 3rd in the nation in total points, 47th in pass yards per game with 247, 10th in rush yards per game at 220, which is outstanding, 7th in total yards, 24th in red zone percentage, and number 3 in least turnovers per game, and number 1 in Power 4. This is a team that ran the ball 50 times versus Alabama to only 16 passes. They will run the football if you let them. That's what they want to do. And against Oregon the first time, 31 runs versus 37 passes. They threw it because Oregon was forcing them to throw the football. But easy access throws, way too many. Quarterback picking up first downs via the run game on RPOs. That's what they're going to do. They stress you, and Curt and this offense stress you at every single turn. They make you defend every blade of grass from first down. They're not dialing up big shots all the time. They're like efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. And then defense, stop them, turnover, short field. And now all of a sudden you are down big early. But this offense features, obviously, the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza. You got Roman Hemby, over 1,000 yards rushing this year. Keelan Black, who was really a star versus Alabama, his 5.7 yards per carry. He is a absolute nightmare. But it is this wide receiver crew that is unheralded because Surratt, NFL player, big body chain mover. He had 8 for 121 and a touchdown at Oregon. And then Cooper, he's more of the volume guy. Got over 850 yards this season. And together, they will punish a single high and off coverage team. So the question is, what can Oregon's defense do differently in this game? I believe Oregon is going to have to play way more man coverage and then switch in some zones that look like man and confuse Fernando Mendoza, because Oregon has to stop the run early. And then when they get in third down, they have to defend Fernando Mendoza running, because they will call quarterback draws. They will call RPOs, and he'll pull it and go out the back door. And he's just athletic enough to where it's a problem for defensive ends. And he's just great enough and accurate enough to where he can thread the needle on some of these passes. But Oregon did get a pick 6 in the last game with Brandon Finney. So there are going to be some times where Fernando Mendoza is like, I don't know if I want to throw that, especially if it is a close game. Because in the October matchup, Indiana only had 326 total yards, but it was the red zone that they dominated. They owned the red zone, which is the spot where Oregon was not good at all. And the funny part is that while we have been praising this Indiana defense, the Oregon defense, whether it's national coverage on YouTube, coverage anywhere else, Oregon's defense has not been getting the credit that they deserve. They are 6th in the nation in total points allowed at 15 per game, 5th in pass yards per game at 157, and they were first for a lot of the season, 20th in rush yards per game at only 111, and 6th in total yards at 267. Come on, man. But the only thing that you could possibly say about this Oregon team is that when teams get in the red zone, they're scoring at an 87% clip. But the problem is they're not getting in the red zone a lot. And then in 4 of the last 6 games, they've only allowed 2.6 yards per carry or less and have multiple interceptions in 3 of the last 4 games. This defense feels like it is peaking at the right time, and people are not giving them the credit that they deserve. And a lot of it has been third down defense, because their opponents are converting just 35% of the time, which is very good, but it's not at Indiana's level. And elite offenses have converted at 40% around there, which is normal when you're playing an elite team because the numbers are going to adjust. But Oregon will take the ball away. They are excellent, but they are still at +9 on the season, but they're still behind Indiana's absurd +18 on the season. Now, the Duck defenders, they have to have their best day. Bryce Betcher has to have his best day as the team's leading tackler with over 125 tackles. He's going to have his best day diagnosing and being physical. Tatum Tuioti, 9.5 sacks. Him and Mateo Uiagalelei are going to have to own Indiana's right side of their offensive line, because that's where they're honestly the weakest at. Their left side of the line, they got a all Big Ten, potentially All-American left tackle who is very good. But the right side is where trouble can come But the thing is, Indiana does a good job of not allowing that to be a problem because they rarely are in third and long situations. But if Oregon can force them into drop back situations, they will have success, just like they did in the first game. So Bear Alexander, defensive tackle's got to have a great game. And so does Green as well, and Amari Washington in the middle. But a lot of the key is going to be Brandon Finney. It is going to be Efe. It is going to be Theron Johnson. It is going to be whoever is out there on the corners and the safeties when they get matched up when Flowers and Candidate. You cannot commit defensive pass interference and give them free first downs because they are going to test your one-on-one matchups, and their receivers are going to be aggressive trying to get the ball, which is going to leave the officials in a position to potentially throw flags. But now let's look at the X factors in this game. Oregon needs to have early explosives on offense to get this Indiana defense to stop all of these shenanigans. They have to hit them where it hurts, where they're blitzing from, throw into the blitz, get some big plays, break some tackles to where they're like, we got to be where our responsibilities are. We cannot confuse them. And that's where it is. Keep Dante Moore clean and run the football. And don't stop running the football because that will lead to success. And obviously, the biggest correlation between winning and losing for both of these teams as their X factor is don't turn the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, you will have success. And Indiana's X factor is a turnover avalanche because that game got out of hand against Oregon when they had the 2 turnovers. It's just the truth. And this is what this is going to come down to. You got the number 1 team in the nation versus the number 5 team in the nation, where I believe that these two are the best 2 teams left in college football. I believe that this is essentially the national championship game for Oregon to come back and avenge their loss, because it is very difficult to beat a team twice. They don't just have to play well. They have to play clean. And they did not play clean against Texas Tech. Ball on the ground, bad snap sometimes, all of that has to get cleaned up. But my prediction in this game, I am going to take the Oregon Ducks plus 3.5, 4.5, wherever you get it, and Ducks money line. They will win this football game. They will avenge their loss. They are the more talented football team. And this is where the coaching and the pregame and all the strategy before the game is going to cause the difference in this game. Whoever game plans best will win this football game because the players, I believe, are going to execute on both sides. So thank you guys for watching. I'm George Reiser. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the show.